The sun dipped low over the parched fields, painting the horizon in shades of fading gold and blood orange, as a thin figure stumbled across the dusty path that led away from the village. Her name was Ilara, and her steps were heavy, not because of the small cloth bag she carried, but because of the weight of betrayal sitting deep in her chest. Behind her, in the crumbling stone house that had once been her home, echoes of cruel words still clung to her like ghosts. "You are barren, useless, a curse." Those were the last things her husband's family had said before selling her off to a stranger. To them she was nothing, more than a burden they had traded away for a few silver coins and the relief of never seeing her face again. Her husband, who had died 2 years earlier, had loved her once. But love could not protect her from the venom of tradition. When he passed, the family's patience ran out. A woman who could not bear children was a dead branch on their family tree. And so they sold her to a widowed rancher far from the village. They didn't tell her his name. They didn't care. They only said, "He's desperate enough to take you." The wind carried the scent of dry hay and the distant sound of horses as she finally reached the ranch by nightfall. Her body ached from walking all day, her throat dry, her spirit crushed. Yet she stood tall when she saw him, a man broad-shouldered and quiet, his face half hidden beneath the shadow of a hat. His name was Caleb Warren, a man whose silence spoke louder than words, a widower known for living alone on the edge of the wild plains. He had lost his wife to sickness 3 years ago and had since buried his pain in hard work. When he saw Ilara, thin and trembling, his eyes softened, not out of pity but something deeper, something he himself didn't understand. "You're the one they sent?" he asked, his voice low, roughened by years of solitude. She nodded, unsure whether to speak. He looked at her for a long moment, then simply said, "Come inside, no judgment, no questions, just that." And for the first time in years, someone's voice didn't sting. Inside the ranch house, the scent of firewood and old leather filled the air. She sat near the fire, her hands shaking as she tried to warm them. Caleb poured her water, then coffee, strong and bitter. "I don't expect much," he said after a while. "The folks who sent you said you're barren." "I don't care about that." Her heart clenched. He had said it so simply, as though it didn't define her, as though it didn't matter. Why did you agree to take me then?" she whispered. Caleb leaned back, his eyes fixed on the flames. "Because I don't need children, Ilara," he said softly. "I need someone who understands what it's like to lose everything and still keep going." That night, she cried quietly when he couldn't see. Not because she was sad, but because someone at last had seen her as more than her emptiness. The days that followed were hard, but peaceful. Ilara learned to care for the horses, feed the chickens, and cook simple meals. Caleb worked from dawn till dusk, his hands rough with labor, his heart still haunted by memories of his late wife, Lydia, whose picture hung by the window. Yet he never once compared Ilara to her. He treated her with quiet respect, with space to breathe. Slowly the silence between them became something comforting, like two broken souls finding rhythm in each other's quiet. But still, there were nights when Ilara would sit by the window, staring at the stars, whispering to herself, "Maybe this is enough. Maybe peace is all I was meant for." Then one evening, the village priest arrived with supplies and news. "Caleb," he said, "you've taken in a woman no one wanted. Folks are talking." Caleb only smirked, brushing the dust from his hands. "Let them talk," he said. "They've got nothing better to do." The priest hesitated, glancing at Ilara. "She's been through much." "You should be careful." Caleb's eyes darkened. "I know pain when I see it, Father. I'm not here to add more." Ilara overheard the conversation from the doorway, and something inside her shifted, a small seed of trust, fragile but real. Weeks turned into months. Spring brought rain, and the ranch came alive again. Flowers pushed through the earth, the horses grew fat and strong, and laughter soft. Unfamiliar laughter began to echo through the wooden halls. Ilara smiled more often. She even sang once, quietly, while washing clothes by the river. Caleb stopped when he heard her voice. It had been so long since music had lived in that place. He didn't interrupt her. He just stood behind a tree listening, as the sound carried over the water like sunlight, breaking through clouds. That night, he found her sitting alone, looking at the horizon. "You can stay here," he said suddenly. "Not because they sent you, because you belong here." Her eyes filled with tears. "Belong?" she whispered. "No one's ever said that to me." Caleb looked at her then, really looked at the quiet strength in her face, the calm courage that had survived so much cruelty, and said, "Then it's about time someone did." But peace never lasts forever. The same family that had sold Ilara heard whispers that she was doing well, that the Barren woman they had cast out was now living comfortably with the widowed rancher. Pride can be a cruel thing. They came back, uninvited one afternoon, 3 men on horseback, her brother-in-law leading them, their eyes sharp with greed. "We came for her," he said coldly. "She was sold, not freed." Caleb stood in front of Ilara, his hand resting near his belt where his old revolver hung. "She's not property," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "And you'll leave my land before I make you." The men laughed. "You think you can keep what was bought?" One sneered. Caleb's eyes hardened. "I didn't buy her. I saved her." Silence fell, heavy as thunder. The standoff ended only when the men